Welcome to the inaugural Virtual Fitness and Recreation Industry Technology Summit. Thanks to the incredible support of our sponsors and our partners, this is our gift to the fitness industry, a gift to help you all improve the effectiveness and efficiencies of your business. There is no hiding from the fact that the entire industry is doing it tough. Closed with lockdowns, open and closing, or even media reports. These all add to the instability and therefore the generation of leads, closing sales, and even maintaining our members and our clients. We get it. And we hope that over the next 14 weeks, the 7 webinars we will be bringing you will educate you, inspire you, and help your business, no matter the size or type of business. The 2021 Virtual Fitness and Recreation Industry Technology Summit is the only summit in Australia that is 100% free. There's no hidden catches, no clauses, and we deliver this content thanks to our speakers. The speakers have all agreed to give the presentation that they would have given at the face-to-face event. And this time, they've allowed us to record it. So we're super grateful to all of our speakers. Also, we're grateful to our partners, sponsors, and supporters, because without them, we couldn't have delivered a face-to-face event, but now we wouldn't have even been able to deliver a virtual event that's free to the industry. So here's how the Virtual Fitness and Recreation Industry Technology Summit works. You go to fitnessindustrytechsummit.com.au/FRITS 2021. It's in the top menu bar on the right-hand side. And you can register for free to any of the 7 webinars we're going to be delivering. When you register, you can join live, or of course, you can get the replay, and we'll send you the recording within 36 hours. Plus, as a delegate, then you will receive a discounted opportunity to access all 13 webinars in our on-demand library. And finally, you will also be at the head of the line to get the VIP registration to the face-to-face event in February 2022. Now, we'll have more information on both the on-demand webinars as well as the face-to-face event coming in the few weeks ahead. In the meantime, enjoy the Virtual Fitness and Recreation Industry Technology Summit. And today, I'm super excited because I could not think of 3 better people to launch this landmark event in Australia. The first of these 3 people is Mr. Barrie Elvish. Barrie is the CEO of Fitness Australia. And after stepping into this at an interim role in 2019, he drank the fitness industry Kool-Aid and became full-time later that year. In just 2 years and 8 months, Barrie has restructured and pretty much reinvented Fitness Australia to be an ongoing peak body for our industry. Barrie's mobile number is now saved into phones of politicians and media channels across the country. He has worked tirelessly with a clear agenda: keep gyms open. While he is too humble to admit it, it gives me great pleasure and this opportunity to congratulate him on the success of Fitness Australia owing to his leadership. He has an awesome team, a team who truly believe in what they are doing, and a board of directors with a vision. But Barrie's the one in the trenches. Barrie's the one speaking with and working with owners, managers, and instructors every single day. There is no ivory tower for this CEO. So I feel super excited and humbled that Barrie would come along today and open the Virtual Fitness and Recreation Summit with his opening address. Please welcome Mr. Barrie Elvish. Now, Barrie, if we were face-to-face, there would be raucous applause from the crowd. So I want you to just close your eyes for 5 seconds as you walk to the stage and imagine all that applause.
Well, JT, no pressure, hey, mate, and the check's in the mail. Thank you for those very nice opening comments. And you have a slide in front of you now just to warn you viewers that what I'm about to say may offend. Hopefully it will just provoke. But I'd also like to explain that I'm in lockdown like many of you who've tuned into this webinar. I live in a cave, and so because I'm IT illiterate, as like the other people on this webinar, I've got my wonderful helper in Rachel, who's going to help me through the slide process. Before I do start though, I'd like to acknowledge JT for giving me the opportunity to speak today. In these times of lockdown and just absolute, I don't know, it's a bloody dog's breakfast, let's be honest, that's taking place at the moment. I think it's really important that we do actually try and get our head above the trenches and have a bit of a focus on the future and what is more important than looking at technology. I'm going to use my short time with you today to just talk to you about what Fitness Australia has been doing in the past 12, 18 months and share with you some of our exciting, I guess, new directions for the future that we are very confident that we will come out of this current mess in a stronger position. So given that you've all now read the viewer discretion, thanks, Rach. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is the what the fuck moments that we've all experienced over the last 18 months. And there have been a few of these that I'm going to pick up and speak to you about and what it means for the sector, what it means for Fitness Australia, and what it means for the wider community. So thanks, JT, for the opportunity to speak. And before I get into it properly, thank you. I'd like to acknowledge the Australia's First Nations people and the land on which we are virtually meeting today. In my case, here in Sydney, the Gadigal people, and thank them for sharing this wonderful country with us. Thanks, Rach. So before I get into the main content of my short presentation, I have a simple question for you. When you look at this slide and you see a picture of bacon, what do you see? You see a picture of bacon and eggs, or is it eggs and bacon? For most of us, it's a common breakfast food, but not for everybody. So how does a vegetarian look at this picture? Well, they only see half a meal. How would a Muslim look at this picture? They only see half a meal. How would a vegan look at this picture? They see no meal at all. Now let's consider where these food products have come from. What would the chicken think when they look at this meal? Well, they probably think it's just a day's work, no big deal. What does a pig think? A pig probably thinks this is actually a matter of life and death. What I'm trying to get at here is how we view things and how we, I guess, draw assessments and judgments depends on our individual perceptions. And the bottom line here is that different people have different perceptions and opinions, and regardless of our views, for them, their perceptions are their realities. Perceptions, especially outdated and or negative ones, have played a critical role in the situation that the Australian fitness and exercise sector currently finds itself in as a result of COVID. COVID has sent a powerful and undesirable message to our sector that how we as insiders perceive the industry is not necessarily, in fact, it is not how others perceive us. And in many instances, the contrary and negative perceptions have done us incredible damage. Think chief health officers, premiers, epidemiologists constantly trashing gyms, leisure centres, yoga and Pilates studios with their repeated public comments. Descriptors like high risk, dirty, sweaty, petri dishes of infection. If ever industry could ask WTF, it is the fitness and exercise and physical activity sector. 18 months ago, we were all shut down with 24 hours notice. And since then, the fitness and exercise sector has experienced multiple WTF moments. Thanks, Rach. So what is our first WTF? For Fitness Australia, the first WTF moment meant, thanks, Rach, where's the fairness? With what justification could fitness be categorised with hotels, bars, casinos, nightclubs and the like? Why was fitness being so poorly treated, especially when compared with other so-called essential services? Why could an allied health worker continue to provide a one-on-one program in a gym while a personal trainer providing exactly the same service could not? Worse was to come, however, as despite the Prime Minister last year publicly stating early on that gyms would be one of the first to reopen before hospitality, this was not the reality in any state jurisdiction. And although politicians, chief health officers and other commentators have all been promoting exercise as one of the 4 reasons to go outside during lockdowns, those 4 reasons being shopping, to go to a doctor, to go to work if you can't work from home, or exercise. Despite this recognition of the importance of exercise, gyms were labelled as high risk, dirty, unsafe, and centres of COVID transmission, even though there was minimal data and evidence to support such derogatory and demoralising statements. And what there were was coming from overseas in situations that really were not comparable to the Australian sector. It became perfectly clear very early that indeed Houston had a problem. Thanks, Rach. So our second WTF moment. Thanks, Rach. Why this failure? Why this failure that we hadn't got our message across? Now, although many in the industry believed, and some still do, that the sector is self-regulated, I would suggest to you that is not the case in reality. To have any industry shut down holus bolus within 24 hours with a sledgehammer approach indicates that we are subject to regulation, but it sits in the background ready to be dragged out by government when it sees fit. And this is the main reason we were shut down with 24 hours notice, the lack of regulation. This lack of industry oversight, governance, regulatory framework, or similar sanctions to ensure that gyms, studios, and personal trainers complied with health guidelines made it safer, easier, and more prudent for health authorities to shut us down and move on to other problems. We were perceived as a cowboy industry, an easy target to be scapegoated. We suffered from outdated perceptions of what a modern gym is, how it operates, and who its members are. And to put it into some context, when I first started at Fitness Australia, I met the then CEO of Sport Australia, and she said to me, Barry, you know, gyms have got a problem. What is that problem? Well, you're full of men who all they do is look at themselves in the mirror and pump up the, do the bodybuilding. You don't open up your facilities to families, to females, etc. Now, I knew from personal experience in the gym I'd come from in Victoria that that was far from the truth, but this was the then Chief Executive Officer of Sport Australia, an influential person in an influential position who had a very outdated perception of what the gyms were like. Now, why has this happened? Why have we perceived this? Why have we been so scapegoated, etc.? And why do we suffer from these outdated perceptions? Well, I think it's probably because up until now, the industry has not had one unified and strong voice. I acknowledge that Fitness Australia has been in a position for 15 or so years, but if I'm being brutally honest with you, I don't think in the past the association has done what it should be doing as a member-based association representing your interest. We haven't had one strong, united voice. Rather, it's been disjointed. Our sector is very territorial. It is also lacking cohesion. It hasn't been organised. The media was originally happy to report alleged risks and deficiencies in our sector without any scrutiny. The negative commentary that was being reported was verbatim, without calls for evidence in the early days. The industry has continued to grow, in my opinion, unaware of how key stakeholders and decision makers perceived us. The industry, to some degree, even though it's gone from success to success until just recently, has been operating in an echo chamber, convincing itself it was doing a good job, self-regulated, nothing to worry about. No person or group or association had ever war-gamed such a COVID scenario or anything like that, which had the ability to impact so significantly on our sector. Which leads us to WTF, the next one, number 3. Thanks, Rach. So this is our next WTF factor, and it is, what are the facts? The best way to counter, I guess, misinformation, disinformation, rumour, etc., is to go back to the data. So we needed data to challenge the bias negativity, and with the help of our members' IT systems, we were able to compare visitation rates with COVID outbreaks to demonstrate that the chance of contracting the virus in a Fitness Australia member facility was 0.0002% and 5 times less likely than in a hospitality venue. The various reports we published with regular updates gained much media coverage. And I believe using actual data to challenge negative statements has helped significantly change the conversation. Of course, it's only going to take one poor case of a case of poor behaviour by any venue to put us back again. We commissioned research identifying the mental health impact of gym closures, not just for our members, but for their members of the community. And it showed very strongly the impact mentally it was having on those people. In conjunction with the independent health experts, Fitness Australia developed a series of COVID-safe protocols and engaged with all state health departments promoting the safety of facilities. Our industry plan was the first to be accepted in Queensland Health from any other industry. We've continued to lobby successfully and argue with all state health departments for viable operating restrictions to be implemented. The most recent being in Victoria, where gyms were able to open at the same time as the hospitality sector, the first time in that state, representing a marked turnaround on the government's previous position and rhetoric. And just last week, we were comforted in New South Wales with a reference that when these lockdowns finish here, hopefully sooner rather than later, gyms will be one of the first to open again once these restrictions are relaxed. But anyway, this leads us to the next WTF, number 4. Among all the ongoing lockdowns, changing restrictions, political one-upmanship, most significantly industry change, potentially permanently, the board experienced a major what the fuck decision, number 4. What is the future? Last year, we surveyed the sector to explore the appetite for regulation and separately asked our members what their views of Fitness Australia were, the good, the bad, the ugly. The messages received from both surveys correlated in many aspects, and specifically they were, keep up the advocacy, but only do it on behalf of Fitness Australia members, because there are too many non-members that are coattailing off the benefits of what we are doing. That first surprised me, but I understand fully. After all, our members are paying our fees, and that's paying for the advocacy. Don't try to regulate the sector, even though there was a very strong support for it, but raise the tide through working through Fitness Australia membership to establish, promote, and audit Fitness Australia standards. Build an effective consumer campaign based on Fitness Australia membership and standards. And we'll be starting that in the last quarter of this year. A consumer campaign telling consumers that if you're going to go to a gym, if you're going to use a personal trainer, the first thing you should be checking out is that gym, is that personal trainer registered or accredited with Fitness Australia? The COVID crisis caused the board to review the strategic priorities of the association and maximise the opportunities that COVID had coincidentally created. And every crisis presents us with opportunities. Business membership has increased by 15%. For the first time, we have a media presence and contacts, as JT alluded to. And with exercise, one of only 4 reasons the public can go outside, it's top of mind across the community. When we were closed 18 months ago, so were Pilates, yoga, dance studios, in fact, any other physical activity that takes place indoors. Since then, all of those associations have reached out to Fitness Australia seeking our support. Consequently, the board has determined to broaden our remit to include additional exercise and physical activity modalities for membership. And as a result, Fitness Australia will be launching next month new categories for yoga and Pilates studios and venues and professionals working in those facilities. And we continue to develop and cement productive partnerships with the relevant associations. The board agreed that the key factor influencing the sector's current problems, and one that will continue to potentially impact us negatively in the future, is the fact that both the federal government and their state counterparts all classify fitness, exercise and physical activity under the Sport and Recreation Department portfolios. This is not helpful to us for a number of reasons. First of all, fitness is not sport. We understand if you want to play sport effectively or competitively, you need to be fit, but fitness is not sport. We know exercise is essential, as promoted during COVID. Exercise is not sport. We also know that exercise is a legitimate preventative health activity to help with diabetes, obesity, heart, dementia, mental health, which has come to the fore recently. That is not belonging under sport and rec. It belongs under health. So we'll be working very strongly to use the forthcoming federal election to advocate for fitness, exercise and physical activity to move from sport and recreation departments to the health portfolio where we more naturally belong. We'll work with like-minded organisations to lobby for a public health campaign on the benefits of exercise. And for those who are sufficient age, You may remember last century, which seems a long time ago, the Life Be In It campaign, which shows the effectiveness of good public health, preventative health campaigns. We will remind the federal government of its 2018 commitment to get 15% more Australians more active by 2030 as part of the International GAPA campaign. And we'll encourage government at all levels to leverage community interest in physical activity that will be generated, obviously, by the 2032 Olympic Games in Queensland and the fantastic results we've just achieved just recently. And we'll also lobby for incentives for Australians to exercise, like has just happened in the UK. So just as we have vouchers for entertainment, vouchers for cinemas and so on, we'll be lobbying for vouchers to enable the members of the community to start an exercise program. As advised by our members, Fitness Australia will not try and regulate the sector. Regulation is perceived as punitive, red tape, box ticking, and the proverbial pain in the backside. Instead, in the next 5 months, we will pilot an accreditation model for all business members and begin to roll out for all personal trainers the individual accreditation model we piloted last year. We will build on the recently established agreement with Bupa to encourage all other private health funds to recognise Fitness Australia members for subsidised gym and exercise sessions for health fund subscribers, and using these relationships for the reinstatement of Pilates and yoga as rebate activities for health fund members. A natural extension of this advocacy will be to have exercise also incentivised in the community through Medicare. These strategic discussions include a complete root and branch analysis of Fitness Australia's future. And this last initiative has created for us what is truly an FFS moment. Thanks, Rach. Now we know what FFS stands for, but in this case, it stands for Fitness's future symbol or signage, Fitness's strategies. Over the past 18 months, we've learned through many interactions that the Fitness Australia name is perceived as being more exclusive than inclusive. Fit and fitness are not words, do not reflect the trending policy and community emphasis on exercise and physical activity. Other physical and exercise modalities do not align with the words fit and fitness. If Fitness Australia is to achieve its strategic imperatives on behalf of both its existing membership and the wider community in those modalities, we need to remove potential obstructions to embrace like-minded groups. Accordingly, I can share with you today that Fitness Australia will be changing its name and operational scope to reflect a more inclusive range of exercise, physical activity, and fitness modalities. This expansion will increase our membership base, add to our advocacy capabilities, and enable us to positively influence the health and well-being of a greater number of Australians. Unfortunately, I cannot advise the name today because it's going through the legal technicalities of being registered and so on. But let me finish with one last WTF moment, and one in keeping with a summit theme. WTF 5. Thanks, Rach. Where technology fits. So I'd like to share with you some findings from a late 2020 report on technology in the fitness sector. They're based on the Harrison report coming out of the US. So what this report has said is that technology changes will accelerate the focus of fitness from club to individual. Wearable devices have increased by 26% over the last 12 months. Connected fitness technology will continue to be driven by innovation, investment, and favourable demographics. That's an ageing population. Investment in digital technology over the last 12 months was up 35%, with 70,000 new apps launched across the world last year. Wellness wearables will become all-encompassing, moving from external tracking to more internally prescriptive. Since 2009, wearable technology has evolved from single modality step tracking to all-in-one fitness recovery and biometric tracking and analytics. In 2010, 3% of the population wore a wearable. Last year, 58%, with projections of 85% by 2030. Wellness wearables will optimise the personal health journey through exercise, recovery, eat, sleep, monitoring. Personal trainers will be able to will become increasingly independent of clubs and become more holistic and wellness oriented. Social media enables personal trainers to market independently, and wearables opens up direct engagement opportunity. In 2010, 10% of personal trainers were classified as freelance. Last year, 21% of personal trainers were freelance, and it's anticipated by 2030, 30% of personal trainers will be classified as freelance. Potentially traditional big blocks closures will strengthen the position of surviving clubs, particularly high value and low cost. In the US, there's estimates of 30% of gyms possibly closing permanently as a result of COVID. At the moment in Portugal and Greece, it's already sitting at 50%. The Australian experience is less than 1% and hopefully it can stay at that level. Gyms and studios will continue to operate using a hybrid model to keep members engaged. Physical venues will find it harder to compete with technology and content quality of dedicated streaming alternatives. Think Peloton, Strava, MindBody, etc. Now consider that report with another report coming out of the UK earlier this year, which found that independent gyms in the UK fared much better during the pandemic than larger corporate operators in holding on to their members. In the same gyms, membership levels bounced back significantly better at independent clubs in terms of visit throughput and active member percentage. And the report also found this was due to a combination of re-engagement campaigns, rejoiners, and the local business effect of independence, reaching out to their community, keeping their members engaged, keeping their community engaged. Now, I'm not saying that a savvy franchise can't do the same thing, but this research coming out of the UK clearly shows an independent gym with roots going into the wider community than just its membership base has survived better and recovered quicker. That tells me that community engagement and connection are critical moving forward. The underlying message I take from these two reports is that yes, technology is coming at a rapid rate of knots, but community connectivity is just as important and maybe more so than IT connectivity. On the last slide, thanks Rach, is my contact details. If you have any feedback, please do not hesitate to contact me on either my email or my mobile there. And if you share our vision, please join with Fitness Australia to help us achieve it. It's going to be an exciting future. We're going to see our way out of this current mess. And I actually am very confident, and this is why I continue to be committed to this organisation and helping to drive the change which is necessary. Thanks, JT, for the opportunity to speak. And I hope that the rest of the seminar and webinars are as successful as I know this one will be.
Thank you, Barry. And as a former Vice President of Fitness Australia and somebody who was involved in the formation of Fitness Australia, I am excited by the fact that you are looking at changing the name to be more inclusive rather than exclusive. News to me, and thank you for sharing that scoop with us, that exclusive scoop for those that are here today. Our next guest I've known for, I think, around about 20 years, and he has, in my opinion, one of the best jobs in our industry. John Holsinger is the Asia Pacific Director of IHRSA. This means, as his LinkedIn profile says, he is a health, wellness and fitness leader and influencer. Now, it's an absolute pleasure to invite John now to share how IHRSA is helping the global fitness industry, both at this present moment and into the future. Again, John, I want you to imagine walking to the stage right now, and there's rapturous applause for you, sir. Welcome.
Thank you very much, JT. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me to present today and provide additional support to this seminar series from IHRSA for the technology discussion in front of us. I had not heard Barry's presentation before this time, and I won't go into similar kinds of detail, but I do want to emphasize that exactly what you heard from Barry for Australia is also happening around the world in very small changes and differentiations, but it's a global problem. And so what I'd like to speak to you about is ranging what you are doing now from both your local level all the way up to a global level, because all of this impacts your future. So before March 2020, there were more than 210,000 clubs and 183 million members around the world. Recent analysis by IHRSA, Club Intel, and ABC Fitness showed that the US industry lost 57% of its revenue, $20 billion in 2020, down from 35 billion. And from March 2020 through June 21, US fitness facilities have experienced a 22% closure rate, 14% for clubs and 27% for studios. And as Barrie said, this is expected to rise. You heard from Barrie, 1% in Australia. Awesome, fantastic, keep it strong. Positively, ABC data also identified that 26% more new member joins occurred in Q2 21 than the same quarter 2019. So year-to-date data suggests a 10% growth trend for the full year. And all records were being set in 2019 for attendance, number of clubs, number of members, revenue for the industry, and then 2020 happened. So there's still going to be a lot of competition in our industry and also openings for stronger models to survive. At lockdown, the global health and fitness industry was shocked at the speed and degree of impact and lack of respect given to our healthy industry once the governments took their uninformed actions. Barrie's presentation said exactly what happened in most countries around the world, and the passion that he showed came out the same degree everywhere else. And then we got pissed off. But IHRSA quickly knuckled down to business to inform our membership, identify the actions and governmental interactions that would be required to lobby to protect the industry, and have since created over 450 publications, data surveys, reopening strategies, and leadership success stories, and offered these at no charge to clubs in the US and around the world for what it takes to be successful. Rising in scale for the whole USA, IHRSA has recently spearheaded the GYM Act in US Congress to try and obtain $30 billion in funding for the industry from the government. Looking at the past 18 months of craziness, I've thought many times about what our roadmap out of our challenges will look like. There's a lot of noise now, so we need to filter and focus, not just in our industry sector, but when things open up, this noise will become even more crowded with the culture crush, theaters, movies, concerts, live events, all vying for your and your customers' attention. Ultimately, there will be a need to be a lot more sharing, operator interaction, and communication required within our industry for any successful operator to thrive. And I am absolutely convinced of the necessity to actively benchmark others to achieve this. In order to explain how, I'd like to offer some dots on the wall as targets to help you identify your best resources. So I suggest the following for your implementation. Dot number one, lock into your USP. You've heard this phrase from almost every presenter over the last 10 years. You need to be special, find your USP, be different. We all know this is important, but few achieve or successfully communicate this achievement to your markets. So how do you choose what your USP is? To my mind, take a little time to work on your business. Clearly define your USP, and then get laser focused to search for resources that will enhance and leverage that. IHRSA provides great ideas to improve your business with our publications, commentary, white papers, etc., being extensively researched and presented by the operators who have been there and done that themselves. Dot number two, connect and support. As Barrie very clearly made the case, if you are not already a member, join Fitness Australia. And if anyone is listening from New Zealand, Exercise Association of New Zealand, who are both heavily vested in ensuring the successful future of our industry, and have, along with all other national federations around the world, played a major role in increasing awareness and the value of exercise, health, and well-being. As nonprofits, They are only as strong as their collective members. So become a member, work actively with them. It's just the right thing to do for both rational and altruistic reasons. Positive engagement and cooperation with the industry that feeds you just makes sense. IHRSA has a partnership with both of these associations to provide IHRSA membership to operators in Australia and New Zealand, offering direct access to IHRSA's membership area with its wealth of operational information, standards, and trend analysis. We provide access to the global fitness community to those who have the vision and interest to learn from the best operators around the world. Connect with your local association representative on how to best take advantage of this free resource. IHRSA and REX roundtables have recently established an agreement to promote access to their operator sharing experience. And we have clearly seen the industry work more strongly together during the pandemic. I was speaking just last week with a new roundtable member from Asia, and he was amazed at the incredible openness and depth of helpful sharing he found within his roundtable group. Speak with JT about getting more involved with REX roundtables. Number 3, be inquisitive. A key benefit to IHRSA involvement is the regular sharing of trends and issues, and examples being IHRSA's regular e-updates, including a weekly update email and the monthly talks and takes, where 4 leading US operators interactively discuss news and trends of current importance. I listen each month and find talks and takes fascinating and very informative in current times. IHRSA championed alliance development during the recent pandemic to ensure operators added their voices together to make a bigger impact. And we created operational templates to help these alliances thrive. Our IHRSA annual reports, the Global Report and Profiles of Success, are 2 IHRSA reports that provide an unbiased, in-depth look at the global industry and its operational parameters. And it contains key trends that are valuable in benchmarking your own march to success. And IHRSA is probably best known for our international convention and trade show, currently scheduled in person in October in Dallas, because the demand for people to get together face-to-face is huge. The trade show will be both virtual and in person. But with the current travel restrictions around the world, there will be few international participants this year. So we will have a virtual copy of the educational tracks presented in an Asian time zone on the 14th, 15th, and 16th. But we forecast that our 2020 convention in Miami, Florida, next June, will see more active participation. And now dot number 4, engage with the big picture. IHRSA is working with Exercise New Zealand and Fitness Australia to establish ISO 9000 standards criteria to build credibility, professionalism, and consistency for operators in our industry. You heard this from Barrie just recently. All of these focus towards growing the awareness and positive impacts that our industry offers to getting people more active. With governments around the world taking huge decisions, creating financial impacts on the economy during the pandemic, there is a strong frustration among fitness operators and suppliers of the lack of recognition being given to our industry and how essential we are to good health. The Global Health and Fitness Alliance, the GHFA, was therefore established in November 2020 by IHRSA to create a united global voice that can promote the industry's essential contributions to health and well-being and drive policies coming from the WHO, UNESCO, OECD, and other global influencers on those authorities that impact a GHFA member's local and international operations. The GFA, though, is an independent alliance of global industry leaders at C-level, representing clubs, suppliers, and national industry associations, several from Australia and New Zealand. And IHRSA has committed staff resources to support and facilitate this initiative. These GHFA leaders have since November been very active in small groups dedicated to identifying a template for the industry's future strategy and advancing specific research to achieve these goals. Participation is open to both IHRSA members and non-members, and we are open for new participants to join. You just need to be leaders working together to change the narrative of how the industry is promoted by those influencers mentioned above, and ultimately create a larger benefit and security for our industry because of it. So how is the GHFA taking action? If there's one thing we've learned, as Barrie also mentioned, during the past 18 months, it's the importance of accurate data. To deliver the biggest impact to the influencers noted above, the GHFA this week is commissioning a $400,000 industry-defining economic research study identifying both an economic and socioeconomic impact analysis of our industry in the leading 64 countries around the world. Over 45 countries are currently committed and funded, and we need additional support to drive the result. If you want to be a part of something big and get in on the ground floor to help commission this survey and share in the full results, contact me at jwh@ihrsa.org. If we are to make a difference, we have to start today. Broaden our appeal and become an essential component of future public health policy. So to recap, get involved, be active, share your experiences, and help influence and design your own future. Set your strategy using all the great tools on offer from IHRSA and your associations, and take active charge of your bigger future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Rapturous applause again for you, sir. Really great insights. And again, I would like to publicly congratulate IHRSA on the way they've handled themselves throughout the pandemic, and the headlight teams and what they've done both domestically in the US and internationally has been quite phenomenal. The amount of work, the content that has been delivered. Congratulations.